Hey you guys, what's going on? Appreciate you tuning in to the channel. We talk about a lot of different things here, and today we're going to be talking about the bad days are the secret days to success. All right. A lot of people think that the good days, or when everything goes right, that's when it only matters. That's when it counts, right? Everybody wants to live this life of perfect optimization where you can somehow reach this level of perfection of getting everything just right. And if you get there, eventually you'll just run like a well-oiled machine and you'll never fail. Somehow you'll reach this point where you can just overcome any obstacle. You'll never have a bad day, right? And guys, the truth is, if you are on your mission, if you are working towards something, especially something good, you are going to have bad days. You are going to have opposition. There might be a string of time where you are just, it's one day that's going bad after the other, right? It gets worse before it gets worse. And guys, I've been there, right? I've been there. I've been in almost every mess that you could imagine, all right? And it sucks. If you're watching this video, you're probably experiencing that in some capacity, right? You're probably wondering when the bad days are going to end. If it would just stop, if the pain would just go away, if the pressure would just vanish, right? Guys, I'm here to tell you that those bad days, those are the secret days of success. The reason is, it's a choice, guys. Once it comes down to it, it's a choice. And this world wants to take away your ability to choose. It wants to take away the power that you have as a man. Guys, most powerful thing you can do is use the bad days to your advantage. That means if you wake up, you haven't slept, everything's going wrong, your finances are in shambles, your car won't work, your family isn't talking to you, you maybe you have a friend or two, but they can't really do much. Everything's going to crap, right? You don't have any food in the pantry. Everything's going wrong, right? There's no way out. What do? Well, guys, a lot of guys, I'm going to be straight up with you. I think a lot of the reason we have a lot of homeless people these days is because a lot of people are giving up. And yes, there is a lot of mental illness. I understand that there's a lot of things going on. But guys, I truly believe that mental illness is a cop-out for a lot of people. And I do believe that there is mental illness. Don't get me wrong. I do believe that there's a lot of problems out there. But I believe that those problems are either started or they're intensified by our choices, right? Basically, life doesn't just go downhill all in one day or one night. For some people, it does. But for most people, it's a gradual process. It's a mindset shift. It's a lifestyle change. You go from things being pretty good to something bad happens, and then you give in, or you let go a little bit. You give into a vice. You give into that addiction. You give into that thing you know you shouldn't do, because those things are the easy way out. Those things soothe temporarily the issue at hand. Guys, the trick here is to turn the bad days upside down. It's to flip the script. You have to. If not, life is going to tear you down. Life is going to live your life for you, right? And this goes for the really, really good days as well, okay? I'm going to make another video on that, but I want to focus on the bad days. Guys, the bad days, there's wisdom to find in all these days. there's something to be found. Because if you wake up, like I said, if everything's going to crap, you haven't slept, everything's terrible, you loathe waking up, right? You have those restless sleeps where you're exhausted, but you never really rest because there's so much going on. Guys, you have a choice to either give in to that fear, to give in to the comforts that are screaming at you from every angle, or you can face it and you can make something out of it. For instance, I'll give you an example. You wake up on those really terrible days, right? Everything's just terrible. What do? You got to flip the script. You have to look at it as, okay, today's a challenge. Today is a little bit more difficult, right? But, and this helps me to think about this a lot, there's people out there who have gone through 100 times worse than I have. There's people who are trying to escape war zones. There's people who have gone through horrible atrocities and made it through, right? So I kind of look at it from that angle. And then I also look at it as, okay, what challenge is there to overcome today? What can I do that's going to make me stronger in the future? Okay, maybe I only had 2 hours of sleep last night, okay? So if I can get through today, that means that I'm able to operate on very little sleep. And that means that when I'm well rested, I'm going to be even more capable. I'm going to be even better at what I can do when I'm in a really good state of mind, right? So you got to look at it like that. When you look at it like, oh, man, I just don't have the money in my bank, I don't have this or that. Guys, again, you can choose to go homeless. You can choose to just say, screw it, throw your hands up in the air and give up. Or you can get creative. You can look at gig apps. You can look at local, there's like day jobs. I forget the exact name for it. It's like temp agencies, right? You can look into things like that. You can look into, and I know it's going to hurt a lot of guys' pride, you can look at working at your local Taco Bell or McDonald's. Be a dishwasher, right? Do what you got to do to keep going, to keep moving forward. If you have a car that works, see if you can do some gig work, right? Let's say your family isn't talking to you. Let's say you don't have a lot of friends, right? Let's say your social life is in shambles. Okay, cool. Maybe this is a good time for me to reflect on myself. How did I get to this point? How did I get so far where people don't want to talk to me? Maybe there is something about myself that people aren't necessarily attracted to or people don't want to be around. Maybe this is a time for me to self-reflect and go, am I happy with myself? Am I attracting the right type of people in my life? Or are you attracting vampires, right? Are you attracting people into your life that want to just suck all the energy, all the life force, all the goodness out of you, all the kindness? Are you being constantly taken advantage of with nothing in return? Are you bad at asking people for help? Are you bad with expecting things in return, or just laying down, hey, if I do this, I expect you to do this, right? You know, if I help you move this weekend, hey man, I'm thinking about moving here in about 3 months. I'm really going to need your help then, right? You put these things down, right? You set the expectations. You make it clear. If you truly can't do something, or maybe there's just a day where you just don't want to do it, right? Maybe you've helped people move 2 weekends in a row, and someone else asks you to move, and you're like, you know what, man, hey, I wish I could, but I just can't this weekend, right? You got to put your foot down. Look at all these setbacks, look at all of these things as opportunities to succeed, to get better at something, right? And in the case of socializing, I found, right, because I've gone from, like, I grew up as a really introverted kid, really quiet kid, really shy. Grew up in my later teen years, very outgoing, very social. Early 20s, very outgoing, very social, and then had a little bit of a dip in my social life, right? And I started to realize that a lot of the people I was hanging around weren't necessarily good for me long term. Yeah, they were fun, they were not bad people, but for me and what I want out of life they weren't really going to get me closer to my goals. They either wanted to keep partying or keep just drinking and just living a lifestyle that I didn't see as being very productive. And so I distanced myself from those people. And some people are so scared of being alone, right, that they want to have those bad people or the people that aren't going to be beneficial for them in their lives. Doesn't mean you have to be an asshole to them. Doesn't mean you have to just completely write them out of your life, but you have to decide what's good for you and what's not. Influence plays a huge part. Guys, those bad days are the secret days to your success, because it doesn't really matter what happens on the good days, right? Because the good days are going to be the good days. Those days where you wake up, you got a perfect 8 hours of sleep, you're chipper, you wake up with a smile on your face, everything's great, it's a sunny day outside, your car works, you got food, you got money in the bank, your work, it's not too hard, you got a nice smooth day at work, everybody likes you, everybody loves you, everybody's talking to you, you got good interactions everywhere you go, right? Those are the good days. Be happy in those days. Be joyful, be thankful, be great, have gratitude, right? Be gracious to others. But those bad days, guys, we tend to over dramatize, or over, however you say that, right? We tend to be extremely dramatic with our negative emotions, right? We just want to, wrap up ourselves in our blankets and hole up in our house and listen to depressing music, guys. Every influence, everything we put into our bodies, whether that's food, music, what we watch, right? Everything is going to influence us in some way. It's up to us to do with that what we please. So if we're constantly influencing ourselves with negative things, it's very possible we're going to have more negative days. Now, I get it. Sometimes you got to break up. You got some bad things going on in life. Sometimes you got to go through it. I get it. But you don't want to stay there either. You don't want to stay in that muck, in that puddle of despair, right? It's not a good place to be. Guys, I want to end the video with this story because I think it's beneficial to hear this from someone firsthand. And I think anybody, if you're being real, anybody can just upload a video and talk about anything. But I want to give you guys a little bit of hope, because there's a lot of people who, might be really trapped or really stuck right now, okay? I want to let you guys know there was a time in my life where I had a lot of things, right? I had a lot. I had more money than I really knew what to do with, okay? Now, objectively, from the outside, it probably wasn't a whole lot of money to a lot of people, or what you would consider a whole lot of money. But for me, right, to me, it was quite a bit of money. And I was careless, all right? Became very careless, became very wasteful, right? Made a lot of choices that, essentially I'm still working through today, right? And the biggest reason for that is because I let bad days, bad feelings, right? Again, as men, the more you live through your feelings, the worse things get, right? But I let bad feelings and I let bad days get to me. And I acted on those days, and I wanted to just surround myself in comfort and ease. And I wanted to just escape it, right? And I thought that by buying things, I thought that by just living a life of carefree, doing whatever I wanted to do, that was going to bring me peace and happiness, and it didn't. All right, so I'm warning you, if you're falling down that pathway, don't buy into all the, you got to be the man, you got to be top dog, you got to get to this point where you can just sit back and relax. Guys, you have to find your purpose and work towards something as a man, always. If you don't work towards something, you're pretty much dying, right? It's okay to take a break. It's okay to take a vacation. It's okay to kick back and relax every once in a while. Make sure you're doing that, because it is important. But do it to recharge. Do it so that you can come back stronger, right? But if you are living on red line because Believe it or not, guys, there was a time where I was living on red line for a good 2-3 years. If you're living on red line, don't give up. I know it's easy to get stuck in your head. It's easy to get stuck in the emotions, but figure out a way, guys. I gave you some examples, right? There's always a way. You can always make it through. And I'm going to end the video on this, all right? I don't know where you are spiritually. This channel is geared towards that, right? I do believe every human has somewhat of a spirit, right? I do believe that we have the spirit in us, the spirit of God. I believe that we all have the image of God, right? I believe that we're all children of God. God wants to make his home with us. He wants to be in our hearts, right? He wants to have his Holy Spirit fill our temple, which is us, right? Our bodies are temples to the Spirit. And so if you're a believer, right, if you're a Christian, maybe you're going through a hard time, you believe in God, but he seems so far away. Guys, that is primarily where he wants you to be. I know that sounds crazy, but there was a time in my life where I thought God didn't want anything to do with me, but I realized looking back, he wanted me to cling to him even closer, even tighter. He wanted me to hold on to him, to stop resting in my ability and my, hard-headedness and my stubbornness, guys. That got me through a lot of things, don't get me wrong, but his grace was more sufficient. His grace was more powerful than anything I could ever do, right? And every man is given a level of strength, of ability, but guys, that means nothing if it's not blessed by God, right? You see a lot of people out there who are living a life who seem to be pretty far from God. And guys, it's only a matter of time before some sort of judgment, before some sort of travesty. And I don't wish this upon them at all. I truly don't, right? But God will not be mocked, and God will not allow sin, and he will not allow things to continue forever, right? Even the most powerful people who seem to live for years and years and never have any problems, guys, even though they might seem on the outside materially like they're living the life, they have everything they want, inside they are devoid of their soul, right? We tend to label people as sociopaths, psychopaths. A lot of these people, guys, especially when people do interviews on them, they end up saying things like they wish they had feelings, or a part of them wishes that they could feel things more. Guys, a lot of times we sear our conscience. And a lot of times that's because of bad choices that we keep on making, that we find comfort in, that we find some sense of control in, right? And I urge you, if you're running, or you're about to hit that point where you're running on a red line, where everything seems hopeless, guys, if you ask for the Lord's wisdom, if you ask for the Spirit's wisdom, if you ask for a way out, if you ask for the way to be shown to you, it will be. And you might have to pray. It might be a process. Guys, there were times where I feel like prayers weren't answered for weeks and months. And then all of a sudden, doors kept opening and things made sense. And all of a sudden, I saw why I had to go through what I went through and why it had to happen that way, and how everything made sense and how everything kind of funnels you into his purpose, all right? You're always going to be living your way, which is going to be far from God if you don't live in his way. And you're never going to do things perfectly, but you'll have purpose and you'll have peace even when you do fail, even when things get rough, right? And that's why we're all supposed to stick up for each other. Doesn't matter if we're rich or poor, we're smart or dumb, we're fit or fat, right? It doesn't matter, right? This world wants to divide you. It's dividing everybody down the middle. Money, power, status. Who has this? Who doesn't have this? Are you this? Are you that? Guys, we're all people. We all have problems. We all need something bigger than ourselves. And I believe that that's the power of the Lord, right? The power of Jesus Christ. He's the way, the truth, and the life. If you just read John, start in John. If you read the Bible, start there, and everything will start to open up to you. Pray. There's not really a way to pray. You just pray. You just pray to God. You're like, God, I don't know how to pray. I don't know how to talk to you, but I believe in you. I want you to talk to me. I don't know how that works, right? You just talk to him. You just talk to him like you're talking to your, like your best friend or something. You just talk to him, right? And he'll talk to you, right? Maybe not audibly, you might not hear anything, but he will talk to you, he'll speak through you. It's hard to explain, guys, but I hope you find some hope from this video, and just know that the bad days are setting you up for a lot of good ahead. All right, it's going to make you stronger. It's going to mark you on this earth. It's going to leave a legacy. It's going to do something, right? It's going to make something of you. And it's who you are when you persevere under those trials and tribulations that define who you are and who you will become as a man. So guys, that's all I have for you. Let me know what you think below, and I'll see y'all at the next one.